Oh,
We're live!
yay!
This was very exciting because we went live the moment that Jack signed up.
Yeah, that was like the best timing in the world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like literally at the same second we were going live, we were joining the call.
That's awesome. I'm in this really cool conference room that has like this webcam big monitor, but I can't get it to work. I was all excited. I was like, I'm gonna be so professional. This is gonna look awesome. But,
That's not our style, dude.
I know, but I thought it'd be fun. You know, since this is essentially the goodbye to the internet live stream, you know, might as well go all out.
Not that at all.
It is the opposite of that, in fact, right?
Yeah.
To protect the internet, and we're all here, and you're all here, and we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should introduce ourselves, probably, yeah?
Yeah.
For people who haven't been here. Let's see if there's anyone in the chat. Nobody in the chat yet. But there's 8 of you watching, so y'all should introduce yourselves in the chat while we're introducing. My name's Janae. I'm Director of Leadership and Education at the Harry Potter Alliance. And hello. Nice to see everyone on today, the battle for the internet. It's a good day for a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Every day is a good day for a battle.
Yeah. It's a Gryffindor line.
There is. That's a Gryffindor motto. Every day is a good day for a snack.
Yeah, that would be the motto. Yep. Endorsed. Official endorsement.
Hello, I'm Katie. I am clearly neither one of those houses. I'm a Ravenclaw, and I'm also the campaign's director for the HPA. And Ravenclaw's motto is every day is a good day to be the best.
Oh, whoa.
Ow.
I was going to say for a book, and then I changed it at the last.
Oh, man. As a Gryffindor, I definitely disagree with that statement.
Oh, Jack, you're not alone.
Oh, we're outnumbered.
Yes.
Yeah. Who said that?
Yeah. Hey, Siobhan, what do you do at the HPA?
So I am a training facilitator in the chapters department, and woohoo! And as you can maybe tell from my accent, I'm from Ireland, so I'm gonna be a bit international here, you know, get a bit of an international perspective.
Always love that.
Are you going to be at LeakyCon in Dublin?
Absolutely, yeah. It's like maybe 20 minutes away from my house, so I'll be there.
Yeah, you should definitely go there.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Can we stay with you?
Super excited.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, I actually would love to have everyone stay with me, but it's my mom's house and she's like not so keen on the idea. So what can you do?
Well, she's out of town for a night. Let's have a house party. We'll get
maybe I should pay for her to go away.
Doesn't sort of. I love it.
Oh, sorry, Jack. You introduced yourself first. I just got excited about the chat.
Oh yeah, no worries. My name is Jackson Bird. I'm the director of Wizard Muggle Relations for the Harry Potter Alliance. Say about me. I like the internet. I want to save it.
Oh, well, that's good. Otherwise, this live stream would be.
Yeah,
awful.
I'm trying to tweet that I'm here now so we can get more people. Tweeting is a thing that we might not be able to do anymore.
Yeah,
it's rough. The chat is full of people saying hello as well, so this is super exciting. Hi to Jennifer and AJ and Hannah and HG. I like that. That's a good name, HG.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us,
Dr. HG. Cool.
Dr. HG.
I like it. Welcome, folks. You can also throughout this live stream, you can also be tweeting or putting it on Facebook or whatever mode you use to communicate.
I've got a question related to this. This is the first. It's actually not a question. This is a discussion point that I would like people to weigh in the chat and on Twitter. What is the best emoji that represents net neutrality or saving the internet? Because, like, you know, we've got the, like, computer emojis, but I'm liking the old, I forgot what it's called, that first video game with the joystick that you played Pong with, because that kind of looks like the button that controls the internet in the IT crowd.
What is that console called?
I forget.
I feel like it starts with an A.
I'm going to do this blue button. I'm going to pretend that that's the internet. There we go.
Atari, yeah, I think
it's not called Atari.
No, the console was called.
But not the little joystick one? That was Atari?
I think so.
I thought that was just like the company that made later games.
Atari too.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
there's a great Atari documentary about the ET games that were buried under concrete in New Mexico. You can watch that after the live stream. It's on Netflix. All right, let's get into the real stuff.
That was a good lead. So speaking of Netflix and being able to watch things at whatever speed you want, let's talk about net neutrality.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Netflix and some other companies who last time that we had, you know, this big call for rules, they were all on board. But since then, since they've been able to kind of get some special favors from the bigger corporations, they're not as gung-ho anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, what the heck, Netflix?
Yeah.
I think maybe Netflix joined on, actually.
Oh, thanks.
That's good. I do like. I'm glad to hear that. But I do know that they like. There was something a year or so ago where they kind of just agreed to like whatever they had to do to get the streaming stuff, which I guess as a consumer I like, but as a responsible consumer I don't like. You know.
Yeah. So let's talk a second about what we're talking about and what the heck like net neutrality actually means. Because I agree, like I've seen a lot less like energy and like fervor around it this time around, which is super concerning. And it might be because it's happened before. So people are like, oh, this is a thing again. Like, what are we talking about? What's going on? So if you don't know, which no judgment, that's why you're all here, partially on this live stream is to learn. So net neutrality is basically this principle or idea that internet service providers, so anytime you hear people saying ISP, that's an internet service provider, it's the idea that they should give all of us access to all content and all applications, no matter what that content or application is, and without favoring or blocking particular products or websites. So basically what that means is all internet traffic should be treated the same, and that those companies and service providers shouldn't be able to like work out deals. So like, hey, my website is going to be extra fast on your service, and this other one we're going to slow down. And not only is that a big deal for, you know, things like Netflix versus Hulu and that kind of stuff, which is kind of the first thing we think about, but it's maybe even a bigger deal for all of the kind of smaller fish in the internet ocean and the people who don't have access to the resources like Netflix does to be able to buy their way into faster speeds on the internet. And I think we'll talk a lot about that a little bit more. So right now what's happening is, you know, this has all kind of been talked about, been decided. We had this big like battle for the internet a couple of years ago, and we were like, oh shoot, like we won, yay, everything was looking good. And now the administrations have changed, and chair people have changed, and it's kind of come back again. So we talk a lot about the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission. And the FCC is an independent agency of the United States federal government. And it was created to regulate communications, radio, television, wire, satellite, and cable. But the FCC was created kind of before the internet, right? Which is why there's been this weird, like, figuring out where the internet goes. And under the Obama administration, they classified broadband carriers, so those ISPs, as telecommunications companies, which put them under the umbrella of the FCC and let the FCC put these stricter regulations on them. So recently, the FCC put out this huge proposal. It's like 75 pages, which I guess compared to like healthcare bill and stuff is a tiny proposal, but you know, it's still 75 pages of stuff, called Restoring Internet Freedom. You know, they like to use those kinds of names for things. But it outlines changes to the current net neutrality rules. And basically, right now, those rules are the things that say, hey, all this traffic has to be treated the same. And they're looking to reverse those rules and allow changes to the way that ISPs are regulated, and break down some of those rules and laws that they have to follow right now. And like I mentioned, all of this has happened before, and the HPA was actually involved in all of that happening before. And I want to have Jack maybe give us a summary of like what that looked like and what we were doing a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago, 1 year ago.
I'm the oldie.
Yeah.
The big push that we did was a couple of years ago. I believe it was 2015, maybe even 14. I think 15. I don't know. Time, dudes. When you get as old as I am, flies by. But yeah, the most recent thing we did was called Video Creators for Net Neutrality, and we partnered with Public Knowledge on that. And basically, we got over 25,000 video creators and their fans to sign on to the campaign and leave comments with the FCC. This was back when they, it was a similar thing to what's happening now. And when you get into the weeds, what kind of the specific thing was they were going to reclassify the internet, because when the internet started, it was as an information thing, I think. Yeah. And they wanted to reclassify it as a telecommunications, like a phone. Because, you know, we kind of went from the information age to the communication age, and that is very specifically shown in how we use the internet. It's one thing to try to have censorship, or to be having things like the fast lanes where like companies can pay more for better service when you're talking about content, but it's quite another when you're actually talking about people communicating with each other. You know, we have all these controversies around like tapping phones and stuff. So my example is going to sound a little maybe on the nose and real, but imagine if, you know, you were just on the phone with someone and you said the word bomb, and then the FBI showed up at your house and you no longer allowed to use a phone and like whatever. That is very similar to what they're talking about for the internet. And so that was why we wanted to reclassify the internet as telecommunications. So that was the big fight that we were doing a couple of years ago. And, you know, coming from the digital communities, like fan communities world that the Harry Potter Alliance has, this has always been very close to our heart. And the place where our community really has power is in that a lot of these bigger organizations like Fight for the Future, like Public Knowledge, or even the Electronic Frontier Foundation, who have been working on these types of things for decades, they aren't as familiar with fan communities, with online video and the fandoms around those. And so like there's sort of these like two worlds, and we at the HPA like to try to bridge that gap. We like to get our community educated on what's going on and activated around it, and then we like to get these the sort of more traditional activists aware of like how we use the internet, why it matters to us, how much it would suck if YouTube weren't around anymore, like those sorts of things. So that's sort of the angle that we've always taken with why we care about this and why we want to work on it. And Video Creators for Net Neutrality actually wasn't the first time that we engaged on net neutrality. We did it, oh boy, maybe 2009. I don't really remember too much about it. All I remember is Hank Green made some type of video in a shower that I think was illustrating something about fast and slow lanes with the water pressure. I don't exactly remember.
That sounds like a Vlog Brothers video. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, John and Hank have always been really big partners with us on this. And what we did a couple years ago, Video Creators for Net Neutrality, Public Knowledge is actually currently partnering with the Internet Creators Guild, which Hank co-founded with some other cool people. And so if you look up, I think they're ICG Guild on most social media, they're doing some really cool stuff right now. They either already put out or are about to put out a big letter with public knowledge about like why this matters to creators essentially as small business owners, which was an angle that we were taking the last time this all came up as well. Because, you know, not only has the internet turned from a information provider to a communication service, it has also turned into a business and livelihood for millions of people around the world. And so this thing would literally affect the livelihoods of small business owners, large business owners, like not just our fan communities, a lot of our livelihoods as well. And so, yeah, I veered away from just our history to like why we care about it, but it's so easy to do with this topic because all of us, like those of us on this live stream and those of us watching it, like, you know, imagine if we hadn't had the internet and had these communities to grow up around. Like, my gosh, I would probably just be reading Harry Potter for the 72nd time and thinking that I invented fan fiction and like
this is the thing that drives me like so bananas about this whole fight is like the people that want net neutrality to not be a thing, want to be able to like charge extra fees and like pay and this and that, are these companies that are like some of their parent companies, you know, like Comcast or Verizon, but that are part of networks of companies that are also like big creators, right?
Yeah.
And that are like promoting like franchises and that kind of thing. And I just like the whole reason that the internet is as cool as it is, and the whole reason that like franchises are able to live on the way they do is because of fan creators and because of the way that people engage with fandom on the internet. And so it is like, it makes me so angry because it's just like an example of that really short-sighted, like, what's the way we can make the most money quickly? And it's not looking at like, yo, the part of the reason that Harry Potter became Harry Potter is that there was like this huge message board community and fan fiction that people could go to in between the books and places they could talk about it. And like if you limit that and take some of that away, it's gonna hurt the big guys too.
Yeah, so it's super frustrating that they don't get that. And I think unfortunately, like, they have a very surface level idea of what fandoms and fan communities are like, and all they see is the enthusiasm and they'll pay whatever to get what they love so much, which is not true, because it's not like we have as much money as those stupid CEOs of these corporations. like yes, we will make a lot of sacrifices and we're very passionate, but we can't pay anything. And they're making it to a restrictive point where, like you just said, Katie, those things aren't going to exist anymore.
Yeah. I don't imagine that even things like the Marvel movies, I can't imagine being as huge as they are, like a franchise like that kind of becoming the norm and like being able to be picked up right now without all of the stuff that happens in between. I know so many franchises and shows and things that like people only watch because of the fandom. Like,
I can think of so many. Like, there are like so many movies and books that I would never have had interest in if I hadn't been like, oh, there's like this weird thing happening, and I kind of want to know what the source of that is.
Like, look, I will admit that I'm only still watching Supernatural because I really like the fan fiction in between. Oh my God,
so that TV show more than anything, I think.
You know, like that's like it's such a good example.
That show would have been off in season 3. Like,
it's not about the, you know, they'll go buy whatever, they'll come out. Like, they're only coming out because of the fandom, and I think that's a good assessment that like they're not seeing that kind of stuff. But I also just think about the fact that like the HPA wouldn't exist if like you know, and we do 99% of our organizing online, and you know we don't have
like
the resources.
99 might be high.
I mean,
like when we account for what chapters do offline.
Yeah, but I'm thinking like communicating to the chapters though.
I can't believe Renee just erased the chapters. Renee, people, wow. Call out.
It's gonna
This
be a
live stream
receipt
is a
later.
call out post.
You erase chapters and she watches Supernatural still.
No. It's the
Just
worst
kidding.
one.
You're on the internet. Everyone can do what they want.
It's true.
Oh man. No, but like
and another. Oh no, keep going.
no, I just was like, yes, chapters do a lot of organizing offline, but the getting the information to them and like being able to talk to them and how like let them talk to each other is such a big part of the community. And I mean, I guess they could maybe like still talk to each other from 6 different continents via like post, but it would be a lot of postage and it would take a long time. So like, I don't know.
We got to go back to the fanzine and like chain letter time of the 90s.
Wow.
Can we?
No, I mean that's. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Katie.
Start a chapter's chain letter. The COEs or COs just mail to each other.
Eventually, it'll look like a Weasley letter, and it'll just have like 100 stamps on it.
Could we actually do that though? Because that'd be really cool.
Let's do it.
All right, write that down. We got to remember
that.
Absolutely. We get it over to the European chapters as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, speaking of the European chapters, we have a nice European here to to talk about, you know what, like we're doing a lot of talk about the FCC and like these US regulations, and particularly as an organization that has a lot of members outside of the US, like from your perspective, kind of what are you hearing about this, or like why do you think people should care? You know, when they're like, well, the FCC is not my agency, you know, like sort of deal.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I used to work in Washington, D.C. for a congressman, so I'm always really interested in these kind of things. But it's not really an issue that in the kind of new wave of the net neutrality that's really reached over here on a big scale. Like we had our own issues in the European Union with net neutrality kind of in 2015, 2016, which kind of I felt led on from the, you know, earlier one that Jack was talking about in the US, you know. So, I mean, I can give you a bit of a background of how it all works here in Europe. You know, you guys have the FCC in Europe. Everything is run from, you know, we've our individual countries, obviously, but the European Union has a commission and a parliament that kind of make these Europe-wide laws. And it's a single market, we call it. So everyone can travel and live in different countries in the EU without the kind of bureaucracy. But then, you know, this all came in like the 70s, let's say, when Ireland joined the EU. But a new thing that they were working on was having a digital single market, so that, you know, we could do all the internet related sharing as an EU wide thing and not just the physical sharing of space and work and things like that. So with that, then the issue of net neutrality came up, and it was in 2015 that we first adopted kind of net neutrality rules across the EU. And I was looking on the website, on our EU official website, and it says, it's a relatively new term, but net neutrality is seen by many as it's a guiding principle, and it's important to us all. So it's good to know that it's important to the EU. What on earth does that mean, though? You know. So
in what way?
I mean, yeah, that's kind of all they say. It's very kind of short little spiel about it, and I think it's something that not that many people really know about. And then so. After that, you know, we had these kind of a small amount of rules in place, but they were very kind of wishy-washy, let's say. And even Tim Berners-Lee, you know, the World Wide Web creator, said that they were rather, you know, embarrassing and only semi-net neutral and things like this, with a lot of loopholes. So then in 2016, we had a big campaign, and that kind of put some more concrete guidelines in place. But still, you know, we had different sides kind of happy about it and different sides who were you know, still annoyed about it. So we had, you know, some groups, like there's the Save the Internet .eu, their website, and they're like, we're really big proponents for new guidelines and things, and they were really delighted with how it all went. It was a big campaign. There was 500,000 individual contributors, who put forth their ideas, which was great. You know, people really getting involved in the issue last year. But then again, you know, I had it written up here. Let me see what the exact things were. There was a few things that were still very kind of open to loopholes. So, you know, there are these pretty good guidelines, but then there's these exceptions, and the exceptions are to traffic management, to comply with a legal order, to ensure network integrity and security, or to manage congestion. So, you know, like basically it's yes, there's net neutrality unless the individual companies want to do something that's going to help manage congestion, which they could really do, you know, for any reason. It's very, very vague and very broad still. And it says kind of provided that equivalent categories of traffic are treated equally. So, you know, what is equivalent categories of traffic? They don't really say. So there's still, you know, like we've got a good guideline in place, and at the moment it seems to be working quite well. You know, we haven't seen a huge amount of problems from the new guidelines that came in last year. But, you know, I think the big thing for those of us in the EU is, like last time, what happens so often with things that happen in the US tend to kind of trickle over here afterwards, you know, and people think, oh, the US did something, maybe we should think about it too. And that's what happened with the first net neutrality, it seems. And so that's a big worry for us, you know, and especially when, you know, so many people think, oh yeah, it's all fine, and we've got guidelines now, so, you know, nothing must be happening that's bad. But actually, you know, there's so many exemptions in these guidelines that no one really knows what's going on, and is kind of, you know, one provider giving faster internet to somebody else just because of one of these exceptions. We just don't know.
Yeah. One of the things I always think about when I think about net neutrality internationally is like the ability to like not only is it a thing that it can happen, you know, in waves or like a domino effect a little bit, but also like just I think we all probably have people that are creators that we love that live in some other country, and like
absolutely.
Like a lot of the time, the way you find these people is like they start getting bigger in their home country first, and then like it explodes outwards. And if you are creating an atmosphere in your own country, or like in the US or in the EU or whatever, where it's harder for small creators to get their start, like these creators that I like in other countries, like they just wouldn't exist. Or like, are we going to prioritize content that is from our country versus content from other countries, and like close ourselves off more to the world? Like,
which is, God, I hadn't even thought about that. That's like, okay, thanks for that other level of
Seriously.
scary.
And like, especially for us, like in Europe, so much of everything that we watch, the shows we watch, the YouTube creators that we watch and everything, and blog posts that we read, so much of it is American. And so these guidelines come into place in America, this new legislation, it's going to affect all of the stuff that we watch. And that's, it's definitely not something I thought about, Katie.
I'm glad I could horrify you all just a little bit more.
Well, hey, since you just horrified us all, would you like to tell us what we should do about it? Can you give us some action items here?
Yes, I can.
Great.
So I have a couple of things that you can do. I have a couple of things everybody can do, and I have a couple of things you can do based on where you live in the world. And so for net neutrality with the FCC in the US, there is a public comment period. And that is right now through July 17th, which is, I think, Sunday. And so you can go to battleforthenet.com. We also have a link for it on our website, where you can go and submit your comments right there. You don't have to like try and navigate the .gov sites to find it. And they will submit your comments, and you can basically just explain that the way net neutrality is right now, you like it. You don't want it to be changed from what we had during the Obama administration, you don't want to reclassify broadband. You want to keep things as they are, and you can and you want to maintain net neutrality. So that's one thing you can do is go to battleforthenet.com and fill in your comments. That's a really important thing you can do. There will be a second round of commenting that opens in August, where you can reply more again. So it's a good idea to like do your comments now, and you can do them again in August. Like, just keep going, basically. There's no reason to not do both. But the other thing is today, July 12th, is a big day of action for net neutrality and for just like keeping the internet weird and silly and all the things we like. So your role today is to go and make the internet, one, aware this is happening, and two, like fill it with fun and silly memes, which I know you're all good at.
Yeah.
But yeah,
memes, bruh.
Yeah. Show your dank memes to your family. Show your dank memes to your friends. Talk to summer camp professionals. I was like, at school, but if you're not in school, that won't work.
Summer camp professionals.
Hey man, someone's got to be the camp director. Anyway, no, you want to publicize that this is happening. So there are all sorts of different ways you can do that. If you go to battleforthenet.com and click around, they do have like pre-made stuff that you can use. We are putting out stuff all day on our social media channels that you are welcome to steal and use to promote, and just say like, like the one we did to advertise this live stream is like a cat riding into battle on a unicorn, which is like,
it's great.
Go wrong with that. But basically, share that stuff and say like, hey, it's important to me that the internet stay this like open, fairly accessible place that has all sorts of weird stuff on it. I'm maintaining that today by commenting on the FCC. You should go do it too, and share with me your favorite memes when you have done that. That went out in an email from the HBA today, and the email went out right before this, and people are responding by tweeting their favorite memes at us, which has been really exciting to look at. Live stream is going on. But so yeah, share battleofthenet.com. The other thing is, in Europe, there is another like piece of keeping the internet weird, which is talking about censorship and copyright. And one of the laws that the European Parliament is considering right now would allow big companies to be able to filter the content that people are uploading. So this would obviously kind of do some of the same things that getting rid of net neutrality would do in the US, which would just make it harder for folks who are doing something new, who are doing like transformative fan works, who are using fan properties to do fun stuff. It'd be harder to do that. So SaveTheMeme.com is in Europe right now, so you can check that out. They are asking folks to call members of the European Parliament. They have like a thing, they have a tool on the website that's like called MEP Roulette, and you can just get a random member of the Parliament to call. So if you want to try that, you can do that, or you can figure out like who your reps are and call them. But so yeah, so if you are in Europe, you can obviously like talk about what's going on with net neutrality, but also go to SaveTheMeme.com and work on that. And yeah, basically just share these important things that are happening today, and like tell people why it's important to you. Like, and so if it's important to you because cats riding on unicorns is valuable, show people that. If it's because of fan fiction, maybe share a cool fan fiction along with why you want to save it. If it's because you love Jackson Bird videos, go ahead and share a screenshot of a waffle and tell people to save Will It Waffle.
No, I think you should share my actual videos instead. just say it.
No, it's a screen cap of the video with a link. It's hard to put them on Facebook.
That's true. Facebook hates videos. You know, if you go to facebook.com/willitwafflevideos, there are some native Will It Waffle videos on Facebook.
All about supporting.
I just got out of a brand development workshop, so.
My brand is going up in the chat right now. People are sharing some favorite memes of HPA past.
Oh yeah, 4 pint glasses and a comp.
4 pint glasses.
4 pint glasses and a comp. You can purchase 4 pint glasses and a compilation album of Wizard Rock songs, I think, on our DFTBA store, dftba.com/HPA.
And if you have 4 pint glasses and just need the comp, you can go to our Bandcamp, thehpalliance.bandcamp.com.
Yeah. This meme is great.
This meme is great. I don't know that I think I've rarely experienced as much joy as seeing someone come up to the HPA booth at LeakyCon in a pint glass costume.
It was seriously the best.
That's great.
Acacia and I were literally talking about that yesterday.
And that moment never would have happened without the internet. Please save it.
Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know what the heck we're talking about, we had a live stream once where it was during a fundraiser, and I was telling people they should purchase not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 pint glasses so that they could have the best night of their lives with friends. Because it's rationale. 1, you can have a great time by yourself, but this is about bringing community together. So 1 pint glass.
This is true community organizing.
Yeah. 2 is nice, but you can have a much bigger impact with more people. But 3, get into a third wheel situation, and that's the ideal number of pint glasses is 4. So everyone can be engaged with each other, and it's enough to get the message out. So you want to have 4 pint glasses, 1 for each friend, and then you want to have good music. So that's why you have to get
a good advice from a campaigns professional, y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, 1, we didn't have the pint glass set with 4 different designs when this started, so that was incredible marketing, Katie. And the other thing I got to say is, I personally feel when you have the 4 pint glasses, sometimes that brings enough joy. You actually don't need the other people. So Jennifer in the chat says that they're drinking from an HPA pint glass right now, and that's great, but really you should be drinking from 4 at one time.
I'm only drinking from 1, but there is an empty one right here.
Good, level up.
So you're having an all right time.
I really should have brought some pint glasses with me to the office. That's just
not carry them in your satchel.
Yeah, I feel I know that people bring them to conferences, like GLA. Yes. So I'm not as brand loyal as I need to be. I got to work on it.
We should have each had a pint glass and then combined.
We have done that on live stream.
Right here, yeah. 4 people.
4 people. That's where it's at.
We've got to get European sized pint glasses next, because you guys have smaller pint glasses than we have.
That's true.
So for LeakyCon in Dublin, we can have HPA themed European sized pint glasses.
How big are your pint glasses? This is mine. Slightly.
I don't have one. Yeah. I'm really sad I don't have one right now here. Because I should, but they're bigger. I just know they're bigger. I don't know what the difference is in the amount.
They're definitely bigger.
Yeah.
Will you have a pint of Guinness with me when I'm in Dublin?
For sure.
Yes.
I recently learned how to pour pints of Guinness as well, so that was very exciting.
Oh,
I can pour it for you.
I was watching a bartender last night pouring it very improperly, but I didn't know how to tell them to do it correctly, so I just didn't say anything.
Yeah. Yikes. I hear they taste a lot better in Ireland
find out how to pour it properly is I bet there's a YouTube tutorial.
There you go.
Which you can find.
We have net neutrality.
Neutrality.
For now, because soon the only way you'll find out how to port is from like Guinness sponsored videos. Right now, any old person could tell you.
That's right.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Think about all of the people who like learned how to like, deliver babies in emergency situations via YouTube tutorials. Like, think of all of the lives that have been saved by internet tutorials. Like, oh my God.
I have a friend who got married by her her priest backed out at the last, like literally the day of the wedding. I don't know what happened. So her friend got
a very unpriestly move.
Her friend got ordained
more than you would
in
think.
the parking lot of her wedding via the internet.
Yeah,
And
that
like that
happened. At a friend of mine's, the officiant, it was like a reverend or something, was like running super late, and they couldn't get in touch with her. But luckily, like one guy there, it was actually Joe DeGeorge, had gotten his, whatever, I forgot what it's called. And so he had it, and he was like preparing to take over in case they needed him.
Of course, it's Joe DeGeorge. That doesn't surprise me at all.
He has officiated a few weddings.
I'm very curious to know if folks in the chat have other ways that the internet has like helped save monumental things in your life. I am also just noticing that it is savethememe.net and not .com.
Oh, I kept meaning to tell you. I'm sorry. It looks like Jessica found it and told everyone though, so I think we're all right.
Thanks, Jessica.
Savethememe.net. This also means, because I said it wrong, I have to go through our queue and check that it's right and all. So,
oh, you know what? You should tweet from the HPA while you're doing that. I just noticed that there's a trending tag. Everyone should do this. There's a trending tag right under the sponsored net neutrality one that says 90s were the best because. Let's all fill that tag with 90s were the best because the internet was free and fair.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
We should just basically let's do a meme takeover. That's what I'm getting from the Save the Meme is we're taking over memes with good actionable advice on net neutrality.
That could be the next meme.
Good actionable advice on net neutrality. Where are you?
Memes into actionable advice.
Were you hanging out on the internet in the 90s?
Yes.
Me?
Yes.
Well, no, I didn't really use it until 2000. Yeah, 2000, maybe 99. Whenever Warner Brothers put up the Harry Potter site. That was the first. Yes. I mean, like we used it at school, but that was like the first time I really ever like went on the internet by myself.
Uh-huh.
My mom was like, "Look at this cool site," and then I was on it for hours every day. Until I discovered Ask Jeeves and started Googling other Harry Potter fan sites.
I don't know if I was, like, I had been on it in the 90s, but I don't think we had a computer until, like, the early 2000s.
Yeah, like I remember seeing my mom's email a couple of times, but it was mostly just at school, like for research projects. They would teach us how to use the online encyclopedias and stuff.
When I launched my early career in virtual pet sites.
Oh, that's right. Janae has quite the internet history.
I mean, that's actually a big thing in net neutrality too. Like for those who don't know, there's a whole corner of the internet dedicated to indie game developers who, like, I was 18 and I used forums to find a programmer who lived in England, and I found artists and I found other people who wanted to do it, and I used like W3 schools to teach myself enough programming and coding to figure it out, and I used like DeviantArt for Photoshop tutorials and like figured out how to draw things, and I ran an internet game for like 3 years, and there's no way that I would have been able to do that if those sources were not all, equal and open to people. And there are still a lot of people who run those games, and there's an entire community around it. So yeah, there's an endless amount of awesome stuff that happens on the internet. And I actually tweeted a few days ago, it's like, shout out to virtual pet sites for teaching me how to code, because I was like using those skills in my HPA job during the day. It's like, wow, this is really like, thanks. It was really cool. So yeah, the net neutrality.
The way you spend your free time, Janae, is always amazing. I am like, I have some time off. I am going to read a book and maybe fall asleep on the couch. And Janae's like, I have some time off. Why don't I build a virtual pet empire?
To be fair, I don't do that anymore. But you know, it was a good few years.
Heather has a good story in the chat about the internet, which is that she taught herself how to change the upper bypass hose in her car when it started spewing antifreeze, which I only know a couple of those words.
Yeah.
Less than $20 in her bank account would have lost transportation without being able to learn that. Which brings up like the other point of net neutrality, which is that so if we don't have net neutrality and they say, okay, you can charge all these extra fees and charge more to reach certain parts of the internet, that is going to affect low-income communities from being able to like access the internet. And there are all sorts of like that just has injustice and unfairness baked into its code. And also like a lot of communities that like have been cut off from like seeing themselves in Hollywood productions, have used the internet to like create like new shows and like blogs and like art and ways of like getting new faces and new representation into the media. And without net neutrality, it's going to be a lot harder. So I don't know.
There's just so many things that like it's like literally a dystopian novel. With these things go behind a paywall.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about Black Hermione and how that really started as a fan movement, and there's no way, I think, that didn't influence the play casting.
Absolutely.
And I just, like, we've touched on it a little bit, but just in talking about the way communities are using it, like, the power of the open net for organizing. I like just thinking about the last few years with like Black Lives Matter as just like one example, or like the Dakota Access Pipeline, like those kinds of things without access to, you know, their content being fed to people and given to people at the same rate as everything else. Like
even the Arab Spring, you know, like social media has been the tool for communication and information spreading and awareness and like actual truth in reporting for all of the rebellions and revolutions and uprisings that we've seen for good in the past several years.
The truth in reporting is the big thing that gets to me, especially when we are like in this period in history where there is there's either like very biased news, or there is news that is straight up false, or there is people claiming that news is false when it isn't false at all. And being able to like have easy way to access people who are on the ground seeing it is like it's really, really valuable. Because there have always been huge social movements, and there have always ways of like spurring your community to action. Like it happens faster now and with like looser ties than it used to require. But that I think like one of the things that social media really adds is being able to have that like see it for yourself in the moment versus like in the past. Like the only thing that you would have if you lived in another part of the world and you want to see what's happening in Selma, Alabama, you have to be getting it through the lens of like the broadcasters.
Yeah.
Versus like just seeing it through somebody's Periscope, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget like those nights in Ferguson. Like articles were coming out that were saying all kinds of just straight up false stuff. And so I was watching live streams of people who were just like holding up their phones and like periscoping or whatever. And I was like, I can see what is happening there, and I can see that these articles are incorrect.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also important to remember, at least in the US, the way that internet is distributed. Like where I live, I can only get my internet from one provider.
Yes.
Like there's no other option. So if you start to like go down the dystopia road and you think about like, okay, like if my provider was a provider owned by someone who had a particular set of values and they only wanted to promote serving content that matched those particular values, like we're now talking about an entire community that is getting fed those sources over and over again. I think a lot of people, like, you know, we talk about like incorrect reporting and stuff that people are like, oh, that happens already, like what does net neutrality have to do with that? But the thing about that now is that as easily as I can see one of those articles, I can go find a source for something else. When you start to weigh those differently and start promoting that one set of information over anything else, that's when, you know, we're talking about a whole new level of problems in getting that information out there.
Yeah, I think, oh, go ahead.
Well, that's something like I live in a more rural place, and that is like we also only have one person we can buy the internet from. It's one company. It's not like, oh, we kind of
Joe does the internet for our neighborhood.
He's got a big server in his house for all of us. But it's gonna be, it just also continues this divide of like rural populations like not being able to get as much services and access as folks in urban populations, and it just like is perpetuating problems we already have
with cultural and ideological divides.
Yes, exactly. So this has been a very educational live stream for me.
Yeah, me too.
I think in the chat Jessica summed it up really well, saying that you know, a lot of older folks think the internet's a millennial thing, but it's become an integral part of all of our lives. And this kind of goes back to what Katie was saying earlier in the live stream of like, I just wish that some of the people who are anti-net neutrality, particularly some of the legislators and lobbyists who are trying to like enforce these changes, I wish they would stop and like critically think for a second about how it'll even affect them on their day-to-day lives. Because like, you know, the kind of paywalls that we're talking about aren't usually consumer based. They're more like what the companies would be paying. So things are going to trickle down and affect their daily lives as well. Like they're not going to have some magical exception like they do with, oh, I don't know, healthcare. Like this is something that is actually going to adversely affect them, and they are voting for it, and they don't realize that they're screwing themselves over too.
So that's like, yeah. So much of like the work that needs to be done is on like so many issues is really just like talking to people in your life and convincing them that like this issue affects them. And so like that along with either submitting your comments to the FCC or playing MEP roulette and calling a random member of the European Parliament, which I kind of want to do just to experience it. Along with doing one of those things, it also is just really like, finding a way to explain this to some of the people in your circle, and that might be like through social media, and it also might be through like sitting down and chatting with them. It's good to do this stuff today because today is like the battle for the net. But it's ongoing. The FCC comment period is until July 17th, and then there's another one in August. So like, if you want to like actually see people in person, or you want to have a conversation with them, you have time to like coordinate that also. Like not tons of time, but enough time.
Well, something there is more time for, and that, you know, this is not an action specific to this. For me, it always comes back to this, and this is a longer road thing. But and someone set it up thread in the chat about one of the problems here is that so many people who are voting on this just like, you know, they haven't read the bill, they aren't educated, they haven't thought on this, and so like we just need to continue to be voting for candidates who are actually going to do the work and who like will actually like read through what they're voting for, and we need to be you know, rising up voices and supporting people who maybe wouldn't run for office but can be running for office. There's a lot of movements right now of getting more like young women into office who are actually going to do the work. So definitely support those things and like vote in your local elections. Like make sure that we're getting like, and it's not even an ideological thing. It's literally like a responsible thing. Like for so long, there's been so much like stagnation that a lot of people who have been elected to office, it's such a low bar of what they actually have to know and what they actually do. So, and there are so many like passionate and committed people out there who will do the work. So we just got to work to support those folks and get them in office.
There is my current and hopefully short-lived representative, U.S. House of Representatives. Her not short-lived. I just mean her tenure in the House.
No, I know what you meant.
She is politically at odds with a large percentage of her district that she represents, and she is very, very, very active and becoming very well known in as a supporter of everything that I hate, and everything that's bad for the people and the planet. And I have seen a lot of pictures of her with very important people, and she's having like a national impact. And she started in local elections here. She was just like a nobody who got elected to the state assembly, and then it like snowballed from there. And so like that's why these local elections really matter, because like one, it just affects your life because you live there, but two, like it goes somewhere, you know. So make sure we're you know having good people to go somewhere. As we're wrapping up, Jessica has a really good question, which is, do you have any tips for talking to people about these issues who don't necessarily think they need to know about it?
I think, I mean, I know you might be asking like how to start the conversation, and like that's a little difficult, but I would say like just early on, as soon as you can, like bring up some of these other things that we talked about in this live stream that they might not think about. I think particularly if we're talking in the US about people across the aisle from, I think, where most of us stand ideologically, bringing up the small business thing, I think really helps, because I think, you know, people vaguely know that they're like creators online, and I'm even talking like beyond just YouTube creators, like mommy bloggers and all kinds of stuff like that. Just how many small business owners would be adversely affected and would lose their livelihoods. I think that's a big thing that resonates with people that they don't often think about.
Yeah, definitely. I think because I'm in that boat where I'm in the process of starting my own business, along with a lot of friends who I've just finished studying with. And, you know, it's not even, you know, online businesses only, but even small businesses use like digital marketing as their main way of getting the word out a lot of the time, because they can't afford to use the kind of more traditional marketing methods. So like even offline small businesses, it has a huge impact on as well, you know.
Yeah, that gets back to what Katie was talking about for like lower income areas. Like it's lower income areas, like that's a whole thing. But just like anyone, like Heather was saying, would have lost her transportation. It's losing that access to free tools and information. I mean, I can think of so many things that we all use, like that we use at the HPA, that I use for like podcasting, that is either free or a very small fee. And, you know, in prior eras, those things would just cost so much money. I mean, even just like the software that we use in creative spheres is literally now the professional software that's being used like in films and stuff, but now it's more accessible to everyday people, and that means that everyday people are able to be entrepreneurs and make something of themselves.
And as we're saying free tools also, like it immediately pops up of like, oh, well, you could just go to the library, like what's the big deal? But like if an internet is created where like people are charging and are, you know, are some companies can pay more to have faster downloads and that kind of thing. How fast do you think the library's downloads are going?
Right. Right. That's the irony of federal funding. Yeah, because local libraries are totally going to be given enough funding to have faster internet. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'd say too, just like in a couple of you have mentioned like talking across the aisle to folks, and as far as like getting conversations started, I'd almost recommend just like don't go into it like it's a loaded conversation.
Yes.
You know? Like just start it like you would be like, hey, did you hear about that sale? Be like, hey, did you hear it's like Battle of the Net Day? Like, oh, I went and commented on this thing. Like, just pretend that it's not going to be an issue because it shouldn't be, right? And just start like a casual conversation. So you're not starting it off like it's going to be a combative thing. Like, sit down, I need to like talk to you about net neutrality, right? Like, don't just like be like, hey, let's do this together.
And genuinely listen to them, you know, try to understand where they're coming from. It's not just, don't think of it solely as you educating them. Think of it actually as a discussion and trying to see where the other one is coming from, and you'll probably find some common ground.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the biggest things like is just like connecting to what they're interested in personally. And you can't figure that out without having like an authentic, like sitting down and listening to each other. Yeah. We've had a bunch of ideas about like what net neutrality impacts on this live stream that we did not prepare ahead of time.
No, these were not in our notes. They just happened.
Like somebody mentioned this thing that was important, and it was just like, oh wait, like I totally see how that would have an impact. And so like just, you know, they screw around on the internet too, chances are. And if they don't, there is still something in their life that is impacted by the internet.
Online banking, like just so many of those like small daily life administrative things. And even if like, okay, they're totally off the grid and don't use online banking, they frequent businesses that do. Like there's just
management of your healthcare if you are having to go in between different doctors' offices. Like there's all sorts of things. So I don't know. Yeah, just start it like Janae said and listen and, you know, have some light bulb moments.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think Jack might need to depart.
You know what? I do have to share. So I was going to meet someone for lunch, right?
Yes.
And he canceled on me because we were. But no, this is relevant because I realized I'm an idiot.
No, you're not.
The friend I was meeting for lunch, like was here at 10. He happens to be the host of the Internet Radio podcast. I just should have invited him to join this. And like it didn't occur to me. So
that's all, everyone.
Yep.
That's funny. No, I like it. Listen, that would have been 5, and that throws off the equation. I don't have a.
Yeah, we only have 4 wine glasses.
Yeah, and also, you know, he doesn't come from the fan perspective or anything like that. So I think it was more interesting getting to hear from us. And honestly, I like learned so much from Siobhan about the EU, and
that was great.
I'm really going to get involved with all that now.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yay.
And I think that'd be a great thing because this is going to still be happening when we're in Dublin for LeakyCon. So I think we should totally think about some sort of small action that we can mobilize while we're there. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Especially with, you know, the Save the Meme stuff we've got going on over here. You know, we've got our own campaigns happening here.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to look into that more. And yeah, we'll figure out something fun to do.
Yeah, we could maybe play a live game of MEP roulette.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, well, we might have to do it like digitally. So it's like a lot of us are going to have phones that won't be working in Ireland.
Yeah.
No, you get a big wheel. And you have a bright red phone. And then you spin the wheel, and then you have to pick up the phone and call whoever the wheel spins on.
Yeah.
Nice.
I love it.
Perfect. Maybe that's how you figure out who you're going to talk to about net neutrality today.
Mm-hmm.
Make yourself a small wheel of important people in your life. Spin it, and pick up your bat phone and give them a call.
A lazy DIY tip, I have found that in these make a wheel situations, you can also just write things on pieces of paper and put them in a hat and draw them out and put them back in.
Or you can, if you own a Lazy Susan, you can take these things to the Lazy Susan and then hold it sideways.
Man,
I don't need to hear about your Lazy Susan privilege, Katie.
Yeah, so like I've literally been thinking, man, I want a Lazy Susan. I want to invest in one because we had one growing up and I don't have one anymore. Do you have one? Can you show it to us?
Tyler had a strange obsession for a while with getting a Lazy Susan.
See, I feel like I'm entering that period of my life, the strange obsession with the Lazy Susan period.
It's the period of your life when you just really want to have spices nicely displayed.
Yeah, basically.
Look, here you go.
Wow, that was really easy. Now, I will say, now that is a wheel in terms of what we were talking about, but I feel like we figured out many eons ago that wheels should not be square.
I don't want to hear this. Listen, net neutrality goes away. Square wheels will not be allowed.
We're going back to that level of technology because we can't learn anything anymore.
Stand up for digital square wheels and stand against having to make real square reels.
I just want to say I really appreciate that Krupa has just joined us in chat, and her comment is, "Looks like I came in at a good time."
It's a solid.
Thanks, Krupa. You did.
Getting a lot out of it. Yeah. So that is so. Do go to battleforthenet.com. Do go to savethememe.net. If you live in other parts of the world and there's like important internet campaigns going on near you, tweet it at the HPA, at the HP Alliance, because we will be able to share it. And today is a really good day to be pointing out that this issue is an issue all over the place.
Yeah.
But yeah, go to battleforthenet.com, go to savethememe.net. And go out and talk to people in your life and just say, whoa, did you hear about this stuff?
I think everyone watching this live stream should make a pledge to talk to 3 people in their life today. There's 16 people on the live stream, 15, 16, sorry, whoever 16 was. They didn't like that pledge. Goodbye. So there's 3, 15, that's what, 45 more people that we would talk to from just this live stream today. And if y'all share it on your social media, that's like another hundreds, thousands folks. I think you should all go talk to 3 people, and then you should tweet at us when you've done it and tell us how the conversations went. So we want to hear about it.
Yeah. And
maybe we can even convince our awesome social media team to send you their favorite meme in return if you tweet at us.
Wow,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like this is a fun job for social media team.
If you talk to 3 people and you tell us on Twitter, we will send you a complimentary meme.
Complimentary meme.
Look, I have seen the stuff that our social media team finds, and I feel like it's worth it. Like, they're going to find some good stuff for you. Pretty legit. They have good taste. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, there's an incredible dog meme. Will be available to the first person. I guess it's not really a meme. It's a GIF, or a GIF if you prefer. I don't want to start something. Yeah. So just I talked to 3 people about hashtag net neutrality and appropriate website. Where's my meme?
Where's my meme.net? No, I don't know what that is. Don't go there.
I don't know what that is. All right. Beautiful.
I'm posting a meme right now.
Excellent.
I guess I could wait till we're done.
I'm gonna go find. Just trying to think of like what my favorite silly internet things to post are right now. And I think what I'm gonna go for is the sad harmonica Jurassic theme video.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't seen, check out my Twitter because it's great.
I think one of the best GIFs for today is that one of David Tennant like smashing the buffering symbol.
Yeah, that's such a great GIF.
Yeah, it's on Twitter. I checked. Like the GIF search on Twitter.
Yeah.
I just got to find the right tweet for it.
Yeah. You write that so we can retweet it, Jack.
Okay.
You just write it on the HBAs. You do what you feel inspired about. Your branding. I'm into. Beautiful.
All right. Well, should we break to go tell all our peeps?
Post some dank memes.
Yeah.
Go post some
meme. Go meme post.
hashtag dank memes for your family. It's a long one, but you're allowed to use it. Go ahead. All right. Yep, this is the end. All right.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Go save the internet.
Goodbye.